when you get back to the competitive bargaining, you've got to make this an issue. Like owners, there has to be a group of owners, which is probably the majority of them, that are not liking the current structure
No.
because they just can't play.
What
They can't play this game. They can't sign these big contracts. They can't defer that money, and they're never going to be, viable places for a free agent to sign.
right, which is insane because you look at the free agent list this year, and there's 30 plus free agents that would make an impact on your team today,
Sure. Yep.
but only 5 teams can sign them. Like that's a problem. Like there should be a world where all 30 teams can sign all 30 players. Not all 30 players, but each one can sign one. Like one free agent goes to one team. And they should be able to afford that.
And I feel like
But they
that's where the
can't.
NFL has gotten it right. Is that you can have a salary cap and yet still give out huge contracts. Look at Patrick Mahomes' $450 million deal.
Yeah.
If a player is good enough, you'll make space for them
Right.
and make it work. But the problem is in Major League Baseball with fully guaranteed contracts, you don't have the flexibility to be like, oh well, in year 7 he sucks, so we're going to cut him and not pay him anymore. Like you're locked in. You're paying every dime of that,
Right.
whether they perform or not. So it's there's a lot within this that has to change. There's a lot within this that has to be reviewed, and they've got to find a way to make this make sense for everybody. And maybe you can't, and maybe the answer is we just can't do it.
Right.
But then you've got to come back with, well, how do you do something? Because you can't just let it do. You can't let what's happening continue to happen.
No.
Where free agents come up, there's 5 or 6 markets for them, and everybody else just like sitting there watching, waiting to like pick at the scraps.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not saying that the Colorado Rockies or the Miami Marlins should be in on Juan Soto. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that, but they should be able to at least put in a semi-competitive offer for it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they just can't. They can't.
If I'm a fan of the Colorado Rockies or the Minnesota Twins or like, there is absolutely no reason for me to tune into the off season. No
No.
reason, because my team's not in any of the rumors. They're not talking to anybody. They're not going to sign anybody. So it's like, what does it matter? And that's MLB. And we can get into this as the offseason goes on. MLB has missed the opportunity to turn the offseason into an event and
Yes.
like make it something exciting, because you can't get fan bases that know they're not involved excited. Like
Right.
you can't. There's 15, 16 teams in the league that, or I want to say now we're down to 13 or 14 teams that have signed nobody as of December 16th. 0 signings. Half the league has signed 0 players.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford any of them. And
Right.
they're just going to wait to see who's left and try to make a move or two, or make a trade, or go through the Rule 5 draft. Hope they pluck somebody out, but they're not competitive.
Well, and half of those teams have to pay arbitration too. So like that's where their money's
Yeah,
going to
right.
go, is they have to pay arbitration, which I think comes up in a couple of weeks here. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, so like they're completely out. They're like, would I like to go out and get Corbin Burns? Yeah, absolutely. But I got to pay, my $40 million a year to these 3 guys for arbitration, which if I do that, if I don't do that, I don't have a team next year. So
Well, and a great example is your Diamondbacks. This is a team that was in the World Series 2 years ago. They
yep.
have been super quiet. They're not even talking to the top tier free agents because they can't afford them.
No.
They just
Yeah.
can't afford them.
They went to the winter meetings knowing they weren't going to wheel and deal or sign
Right.
or anything. They came out and said that. They said, we're not going to be active at the winter meetings. We're going
Right.
for the free cocktails and then going home.
We're going for the meetings, the free coffee and cocktails, and then we're gonna it's a vacation on the league's dime, whatever.
Right.
You made the joke a few weeks ago, like they're not even going into the office, but they probably aren't. Like,
No.
what are you going to the office to do? Look at the same
Yeah.
roster you already have.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
it's
and the
brutal.
Diamondbacks have holes.
They
Like
do.
they have moves they have to make. They don't have a first baseman. Josh Bell and Christian Walker are gone. You don't have a first baseman next year. Like
Nope.
you got some holes, but you're right. I mean, you just get to a point as an organization, like Colorado Rockies office has been empty for, since the World Series is over. Heck, probably
It's
since the last day of the year.
it's probably empty since August.
Well, I mean, facts.
Like, you weren't making any trades, like, you weren't doing anything but just playing it out.
Yeah. I'll just give you the keys. You can unlock the field when you get there.
Well, and
But
I don't mean to, like, make light of it to the point where, like, I'm making fun of them, but, like, really, if you're the GM of the Rockies, what are you doing? Like, on the player side, what are you really doing?
yeah, you're
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 not signing
probably
anybody, you're not making any trades, and you're just checking with the player development people to see who's coming up.